Broad ownership of capital cannot be achieved simply by implementing a particular tool or system. It can only come into being as people unite around common values. Throughout history, the lack of unity on values has been a significant obstacle to achieving real solidarity. Today, our society presents us with a choice between two primary values, liberty and equality. These values perpetuate a tribalistic us versus them mentality. We need to stop and ask ourselves, are these really the values that we want? As we reflect on this question, it's easy to see that mankind's true desire has always been something different. Since ancient times, human beings have sought to do more than just subsist and survive. People have always been looking for meaning and purpose in their lives. Many young people today wonder to themselves, should I follow my dreams and try to find a meaningful career? Or should I just do something more practical that's sure to pay the bills? We can begin to resolve this dilemma by recognizing that there are two types of work, economic work and non-economic work. Non-economic work is sometimes referred to as leisure. We're not talking about having a barbecue. Leisure allows us to pursue the non-material, what Aristotle called goods of first intent, that which elevates the mind and spirit. Economic activity is not an end in and of itself. The purpose of economic work is to make the non-economic work possible. But our society today seems to have it backwards. A college education is seen as a ticket to the job market, a stepping stone, a way to get to the real thing, which is making money. People seem to have forgotten that learning for learning's sake is the real thing. This is what gives our lives meaning. Today, people are so worn out by meaningless work that they look forward to weekends, vacations, and any opportunity to not work. But our need for work goes beyond economics. Even if we didn't need to work for money, we would go crazy without work. The ability to organize and transform chaos into order is part of what makes us unique as human beings. The biggest obstacle that we face in getting to the non-economic work is scarcity, in particular, scarcity of time. It's a condition of our existence that nothing comes to us without effort. The earth doesn't yield her bounties automatically. We must labor in order to go on living, and the time we spend laboring is time we can't spend doing other, more meaningful things. We can't get something for nothing. To pursue one objective means to sacrifice another. There is no free lunch. Our ancient ancestors spent practically all their time trying to survive. Then they learned to make tools. These tools helped make their labor more productive, thus freeing up their time for other pursuits. But all too often, instead of pursuing the non-material, men sought to achieve power and status, and to enjoy a life of ease and comfort. Instead of working land and capital directly, the human tendency has always been to try to live off the labor of others. In many cases, this was achieved by enslaving conquered peoples. But those seeking after power also found that they could achieve the same result without direct force. By claiming ownership over land and capital, those not in possession of any means of support were compelled by circumstance to work for those who did. Because no force was applied to create the situation, the people often didn't even realize that they were enslaved. Thus, capitalism was born. In Europe, ownership of land and capital became concentrated well before industrialization, and when industrial technology emerged, the situation became even worse. Economic circumstance for Europeans was largely a matter of birth. This inherent inequality led to social unrest. America was then seen as a land of opportunity, a place where anyone could achieve something. Soon, titans of industry discovered that they could have the wealth and power of a king without having been born into royalty. These men captured the imagination of entrepreneurs for generations to come. But in the business world, nothing is static. Any king of the mountain can be removed from his place by disruptive innovation. By providing a product that's better or cheaper, you can put yourself at the top of the food chain. Once industrialization began, a chain reaction started, new technology replacing the old, and new competitors displacing market leaders. This progression was beneficial to the owners of disruptive capital, but new technology made the non-owners worse off. Machines replaced human labor, putting people out of work. As the needs of employers changed, workers had to constantly adapt and learn new skills, or else find themselves unemployed. In recent years, this process has accelerated. Clayton Christensen identified a pattern to innovation that's captured the attention of aspiring disruptors everywhere. Empowering innovations, he said, make products and services more accessible and more affordable than they were previously. And so we admire and try to emulate the entrepreneurs who are able to bring great products to the masses. But we need to stop and consider where we're heading. As marginal cost gets lower and lower, eventually we'll start hitting a threshold, zero marginal cost. And as products become more and more accessible, eventually scarcity will start to lose its meaning. In fact, we've already started to hit this threshold. Because of the internet, a lot of information and resources that once cost money are now free. This is wreaking havoc on entire industries and causing big companies to scramble. And what does the future hold? As we continue on this path, science fiction starts to look a lot more plausible. Perhaps one day we will have the technology found on Star Trek, the replicator, which can create anything with zero marginal cost. Consider how disruptive such an innovation would be. Instead of having to work and save to get the things that you need, what if you could simply ask and it would come to you? How would that affect our society? The science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke said, "A society based on the replicator would be so completely different from ours that the present debate between capitalism and communism would become quite meaningless. All material possessions would be literally cheap as dirt. When material objects are intrinsically worthless, perhaps only then will a real sense of values arise. Works of art would be cherished because they were beautiful, not because they were rare. Perhaps one day our descendants, no longer cluttered up with possessions, will remember what many of us have forgotten, that the only things in the world that really matter are such imponderables as beauty and wisdom, laughter and love." Of course, scarcity still exists in the world today, but the ghosts of economic past, present, and future are telling us that we need to get our priorities straight. We need to labor for our own support, abandon the desire for status, set aside tribalism, and start seeking after the non-material. Broad ownership of capital is the means of getting there. By mastering the material, ownership creates a path to the free lunch.